Grew up.
All right, we are back. I've got to get all of our people back in here. I just dropped off, and this happens every week, and it's so annoying. Um, Hopefully, we get everybody back, and I want to give it a second, just to see if we get people back in. I apologize. All right, I think they're coming back in. Um, okay.
Sure. So the short version is that I was nominated by the chair. You fill out an application. It's very detailed, and usually have to have references, things like that. Then it goes to the existing board of trustees, and then they vote. So it's usually a strong vetted process, and you're really thoughtful about who you're adding on.
Cool. All right. I hate that I had to cut that question, but all right, let's just keep going. I want to get into the questions of some of our alumni, and I think some of these are from students as well.
Sure.
I'm gonna just wait a little bit. I'm gonna kind of try to stall because I want the people that were here to be able to hear, and yeah, either way, yeah, let's just go ahead. So, I have I have buckets of questions, right? I have board of trustee questions, I have presidential search questions, I have alumni relations questions, I have athletics and campus life questions. Like I've got a bunch of um, different types of buckets. We I say we've got about
Can I
20.
Sure. Can I
So
say something? I just so you know this, I did share with the chair and vice chair that was coming on this show, and they were very supportive. I also had a call today with the search firm that's helping us, with recruiting. I said I'm coming on the show, and they're very supportive. So I just want you to know that I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of the show. I really appreciate you being on it, and I want you to know I'm coming on here with the full endorsement of all the other leadership along with me that they encouraged it and supported me being on here.
we appreciate it, and again, I don't take it lightly that I'm sitting here with a Bethune Cookman board member because again, we know the history with the board and the alumni and the students, and it again over the last so many years, it hasn't been the best relationship. So the fact that we're doing this right now is huge, and again, I'm thankful for it. So let's get to some of our questions from some of our alumni, and let's start with the presidential search. And before I even ask the first question, to the people who have been following, John Crossman will be heading up our presidential search. So you guys had a lot of questions with respect to that, and so I just wanted to make sure, which is why I was posting a lot about this, that you guys are able to ask meaningful questions about who's going to be the leader, the next leader of Bethune Cookman University. And so I think it's important that John and the board hear from you all. All right. So that's what we're
For
going to do
sure.
now. The first question, and also quick note, I do not want to. I'm not going to use names. I asked a question on the questionnaire, but I'm not going to use anyone's names just to keep it clean for me. I'm just going to ask the question, and if you know the question you ask, and you know. But this
There you
first one
go.
is the instability in the president's position is damaging BCU's success. How will this search be different to ensure it moves the university forward?
That's a great question. First off, let me affirm that while there's been a lot of positive things happen in the last few years, certainly having interim presidents is not ideal, and having that permanency there is a big deal. So I agree with the premise of the question. That's good. If it's okay, let me walk. I think that might help us sort of get all this going. So this process is moving quickly and in a healthy way. A big part of what I want to explain in this process is being intentional, being inclusive, and here's another one: being positive. Okay, when you have a job that's available, you got to believe and know this is a great job, and this is a great job, right? We live in Central Florida. Central Florida is a great place to live, and recruiting here is a great deal. And the history of the university and the position and the legacy is very, very appealing. I think we're going to get some great candidates for it. So when I got appointed to the position, again, I got asked to do this. My job is to facilitate the committee and work with the recruiter and then report to the trustees. The definition of success for the search committee is to provide at least three outstanding candidates for the board of trustees to choose. So it is not that the committee is to select the person. Our job is to get it out there as broad as possible, get on a bunch of exceptional candidates, and then provide at least three in to that process. So here's how this process began. So when I got asked, the first thing I needed to do was to think through putting together a committee. But there was one thing I thought about before that, and that was the inclusion of a gentleman named Dr. Silver. Dr. Silver is an expert on HBCU accreditation. He's done consulting work for Bethune-Cookman in the past, and I made the request that he be involved and monitor the committee and be aware of everything I'm doing. So all emails I send regarding the recruiting, I have an HBCU accreditation expert copied. And so most of the time after a meeting or after a call, he sits on my calls. I'll go back to him and I'll say, hey, how did I do? What do you think? And then he gives me feedback, and he will, of course, correct me. When this video comes out, I will send it to him, and I'll ask him to watch the entire video. He will, and then give me feedback on it. So everything we do, we have a third-party HBCU accreditation person monitoring it, which I think is really good.
Yeah.
The second thing is, yeah, that's a cool thing. And his name's Dr. Silver. You can look him up. And by the way, Stephen, if you wanted to call him, you could. So there's another person out there. The second thing is the chair and the vice chair are not on the committee. Now, I do copy them, and I stay in touch with them. But, if you had any concerns about anything I'm doing, you call Dr. Silver. You contact Chair Gamble. You could contact Chair Branch. So there's another set of eyes that are watching things that are separate from me. The committee itself. So I met with the board of trustees. Some of them gave me nominations of people. I then made a list. I got some nominations from other people in the community, and I made a list of about 30, 35 people. I then went back to the chair and vice chair and asked for their feedback. They came back, and so I whittled the group down to a smaller group. Then I took that group and I took those names over to Dr. Silver. Dr. Silver encouraged me to create a matrix, and with that matrix, look out all the skill sets were important, then line up all the candidates I had and look for any gaps. And after I did that, I did find a couple gaps, and so then I made additions to that committee. If you look at that committee now and you study them, here's some things that I highlight for you. There's 16 people on that committee. 15 of them have some sort of significant HBCU connection. 15 of the 16. Of those 16, 2 are Bethune-Cookman University students. 2 are Bethune-Cookman faculty members. 5 are Bethune-Cookman University alums. 3 are attorneys. 1 is a pastor. And 2 are high level in academia, right? So when you look at this group, they are highly qualified. I think they have a really strong voice. Let me point this out, that on the last time the committee happened, there was 1 student on it, and the student was the president of the student body, the student government. We will get a new student rep after they have elections, so I don't know who that person's going to be. That student will be on the board of trustees. So the 2 students we have here are different than that student. So what that means is, last time 1 student was represented through the process. Now we have 3 students represented through the process. So it's like a 300% increase of students on there, again, with faculty. So there's some great names on there. Again, different perspectives, but I want you to know to get to those individuals, healthy process, okay? Then we move into the search firm. The search firm we've hired is a firm named Myers McCrae. They are a very strong national firm. This is all they do is these kinds of roles. They're actively doing work. They are also doing the search for Florida A&M. When we started the research first process, remember I'm a trustee at Florida A&M as well, we started this process last year, and 9 firms were interviewed. Of those 9 firms, all 9 were on calls twice with FAMU trustees, and Myers McCrae was selected in first place by myself and the 2 other trustees at FAMU. They're also BCU. So knowing that I wanted a quality firm that can move quickly, I recommended Myers McRae. I did interview 3 other firms. So we went through another process. And again, I then selected, then went back to the trustees, went back to Dr. Silver, and then we did end up with Myers McRae. So now you have a system where you have a chair and vice chair not on the committee. You have me leading the committee. You have a committee that's vetted, that's really thought out. You have a search firm that's a national search firm, and you have Dr. Silver. So I hope what that's showing is intentional, thoughtful, qualified professional people. Now, we're going to start this search process. So we're going to be kicking off a meeting next week, and that'll start the official process. Part of that is you put together a profile where we talk about the job description, who we're looking for, and then we'll go in the process of actively recruiting. We will be having updates regularly on the website, and we'll be sharing this information. And what can happen is that any alumni, anybody could nominate somebody, they can nominate themselves, put their name in there, and then we'll go through that whole process of vetting, and that goes through the interviewing and then touring the university and things like that. Now, at the same time we're started that process, we're also doing listening sessions. And so we're going to do some listening sessions where we're listening to just students, just faculty, just alumni. And so we will do that through Myers McRae. They coordinate that. And I'll share all that specifically with you, Stephen. So you'll have it so you can share it, but that's going to be shared everywhere as well. And so, look, if you're following this, if you know someone in the committee, you're welcome to contact them. You're welcome to contact me. I'm very easy to find. But there are also going to be formal processes as well. So our job, this committee's job, we will be successful if we provide 3 outstanding candidates. I want to make the work of the trustees very difficult because I give them 3 such outstanding candidates. They're going to have to stay up all night trying to pick the right one, right?
Right.
And then that candidate, well, let me pause there. I've got more to say, but did I answer the question? I guess that's what I'm trying to make sure I get that feedback.
Yeah, you answered the question, but it does bring up another question that someone on Facebook had, and it made me think about it, about the slate of 3 candidates that you're going to choose. My question is is that going to be a final 3 from a much larger pool of candidates?
Yes. Yes. Well, and let me also say this. It doesn't have to be 3. It could be
Right.
5, right? It could be more. But let me make this statement. I don't think recommending 1 is good. I don't think a committee giving 1 name is the best outcome. I don't know that having 2. What you want to do is be able to say to the trustees, here's 3 outstanding candidates. Here's why they're outstanding. And then you, this separate group of professionals, right? You now debate and discuss those 3. And by the way, at that point, they'll have interviewed those 3 as well, right? So the trustees don't have to interview 30 candidates or 40 candidates. We're going to do that, but get it down to a top 3 for them to interview. And I just want to also say, Stephen, and we'll submit this. We have a timeline. We have it as a set timeline, and it's going to be relatively fast. And what I mean by that is like 60 days. Like, what I'm going to tell you is that I hope you and the people listening to this will think about what's the wow candidate. What is the candidate that you think, wow, that's the embodiment of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. That's the candidate we want. That's the candidate I want you to nominate. That's what the candidate I want you to help me recruit. The thing is, if somebody's thinking about that person, you need to call them this weekend. Like, they need to be applying soon, because we're going to move this process thoroughly and professionally and vet it. But I tend to think that when you create some level of urgency, it's good because it gets the decision done. It's not like, hey, wait and apply for that job later. They need to be applying for that job in March. Like, we're going to be moving forward. My goal is that we're hopefully recommending some people at the end of April, and that decision gets made in May. And I'll have better, stronger dates than that soon.
It's a quick timeline.
But I'm telling you, it will be a tight timeline. It will be a tight timeline.
That's good. That's good because I can tell you now, I don't think anyone has the appetite for a long haul with the search, and so I really do think it's obviously due diligence, of course. So we want to make sure we get the right person in there, but I don't think anyone is interested in entering the 25-26 school year without a president. And so I
Yeah,
think that it's good to hear you say that you guys are looking to speed this up. So I've got a few questions, and I want to hit as
please.
many of them as possible. So just out of respect of time and making sure we got everyone's heard, I'm just going to ask you some questions and as
Yeah.
succinctly as you can.
Okay.
Just
Sorry. Sorry.
no, no, you're
I mean,
good. You're good. I wish we
I'm
could do
sorry.
this for 2 hours. I think most people appreciate what's happening right now. So, but I still want to make
Sure.
sure everyone's heard. All right. So, you answered that one. Oh, here's a good one. I think this is a fair one. Will being on the presidential search committees for both Florida A&M and Bethune Cookman present any conflicts of interest?
Great question. I don't think so. I will tell you for disclosure, both at FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, I was recruited and asked to be on those boards. I didn't ever nominate myself or submit my name. Both were asked. The chair of the search committee at Florida A&M is Devron Gibbons, who's my fellow trustee in both universities. I specifically did not put him on the search committee to create some separation. I am on the search committee at Florida A&M, and I have really moved myself to the back to try to stay away from that. I don't think these are a conflict because, so let me say this. I don't think they're a conflict, but I'm mindful of the perception of that. So I'm trying to do some things to create some separation there.
Okay.
I don't think they're a conflict though, because, we are a private Christian university and they are a state university that plays with snakes. I mean, can we be real here? Like those people, right?
Right.
But kidding aside, it's a different job. That is a state university process. I think that candidate, I'm confident they'll find an outstanding candidate. I think what we're looking for in a private Christian university is not the same thing. So there are some obviously connection points, but when I think about the vision, the profile we have, and what theirs are, there is a difference between the two.
That's good. It's a good answer. I know that that's always a sore spot whenever there's any cross wiring of us and I don't refer to them as that's I refer to them as a school up north personally.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
but yeah, there's always just some angst there whenever we're tied to them in these kinds of things. But I take that you've done your homework and you've talked to the necessary people to
Yeah.
make sure that there's no issues
Hmm.
there. Um, you asked about timeline, so I won't ask that one. I think you've kind of been really good about the transparency. Let's get to alumni relations. That's a
Hmm.
pretty big one. What are your plans to bridge the gap between the fragmented alumni? So not so much as the alumni to the board, but more so the helping to unify the alumni. What is the board looking to do to help unify us?
Let me answer that first, just on a personal level, just as just John Crossman, me, the person. I am completely accessible. I've had alumni call me, and I call them back, and so I'm happy to answer any questions. I've never turned down an opportunity to speak. Like you asked me, I said yes, right? And so if there are other BCU alumni groups out there that would like to have me on a Zoom, or if I can be face to face, John Crossman, the guy, I'm going to say yes to that. So I want to be out there and as accessible as possible. Through the search process, we're going to do everything we can to be accessible there. I think to your point about specifically with the Board of Trustees, I have talked to that with some of my fellow trustees, and I get a very strong sense that that's very real and that we need to work harder to make that happen. I hope today is the first step, but it's a first of many steps, right? It needs to be a lot of steps. It's going to take time for us to keep working on that. And then I hope that the active inclusion of alumni through the search process, I hope you see that. I hope when you look at that list of those alums that, it was very specific, intentional, and make sure we got alums on there that they're representing those voices.
Yeah,
So a lot of steps to it. Go ahead.
yeah, I think that what I took from the committee, and what I hope other alumni take from the committee is if you look at this list, um, I don't know everyone on the list, but every person that I see on the list, uh, that I know, I trust those people to make good on the search. And so that's really all you want, is to make sure that I feel represented in this presidential search committee. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but I know I feel represented, and I know that there's a couple of people that if I feel like something is awry with whatever, I can go to and say like, "Yo, man, like, young lady, like, what's up? Like, why is this or why is that?" So I think it's a really good thing that this version, this flavor of the committee, especially Derek Fieger, he's an alumni's alumni. Like, he's a guy that everybody respects. They know he's not gonna sugarcoat anything, and he's gonna make sure that P's and Q's are there. So having him there, at least for me, is really good. So I'm thankful that you all have taken at least that step. Um,
Mhm.
so here's a question that is in. Well, no, I'm not going to ask that one. I'm not going to ask that one. How
Okay.
can alumni mentor or support the current students more directly? I don't know if that's a board question, but you may have some ways that we can get involved and it's clean for all parties.
Here's a couple of things I want you to think about is first off is pray. I absolutely believe in prayer. We are a Christian university. We need to embrace that. I have some people. There's a search committee, right? And I led the creation of that. I have a different committee of people I have praying for me specifically in this season for this job. I
Yeah.
have a prayer committee for me. Just pray for me in this. All right. So prayer is a big deal, and that's a big deal for us. And I think we need to take that very seriously. So I would say that's first. The second thing I would say is promote BCU all the time. Promote positive stories, promote good stories. You do a great job of that. Everywhere you see something that's truthful and positive, talk about it and promote it. Okay? Promote the story, the history of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. I mean, who else do you know is a statue in the U.S. Capitol and Oprah Winfrey played her in a movie?
Hello.
It's ridiculous. Listen to me. If you live in the state of Florida, you should know who she is. You should know who she is. Like,
Facts.
I would debate everyone should know who Henry Flagler is. You should know who Walt Disney is. You should know who George Jenkins is. You, but you know what? Mary McLeod Bethune beats all of them.
Yep.
And the historians who made that decision, they will say that.
Yeah.
So if you are a Floridian, you should know who she is. You know, you should be behind this if you're a Christian. A Christian anywhere should be supporting what we're doing. And if you're an educator anywhere. Anyway, I want to make sure I answer your question. I would say prayer. I said promotion of the university. I would say any way you can donate and promote donating. You know, if you see me on social media, I'm promoting my scholarships all the time. And a lot of times people, I'll do a favor for someone. They say, "Oh, can I do something for you?" I'm like, "Well, donate to BCU." So donate to scholarships. I think that if you ever can and get invited to come guest lecture on campus, you or leaders that are professionals, come back and guest lecture. If you've been in nursing 20 years and you can come back and just give a speech to nurses, that's valuable. And encourage students to apply to the university and be a fan, be a proactive fan.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I will say this real quick. I talked to a dean at a university many years ago, and I said, it seems to me what we really need is people that donate money, raise money, guest lecture, hire interns, hire graduates, and help recruit. If you're doing those six things for any university in America, you're in the top 1%.
Hmm.
We need more people doing those six things.
Yeah. So, and this isn't on the question list, but very quickly, could you touch on there are a lot of alumni who are refusing to donate. You said you want alumni to donate and give to the school, but they're refusing to donate primarily because of the lack of leadership in the institution. And so, What can you say to those people to help, again, ease their concerns so that they can resume their giving? Obviously, maybe it may take for us to get a president for that to happen, but what do you say to those people who are reluctant givers to the institution? And mind you, these are probably people who have given a lot of money over the years, but have stopped cold turkey because they just didn't like what was happening.
I would say, first off, I understand that feeling very much so. I understand it. I've been giving and raising money to BCU for over 20 years, and there have been times that I felt really good donating, and there's times I felt very frustrated donating. So those feelings are valid. I support that. What I would say to them is that we need more people who want to help fight the worthy cause. It's hard. We're going to have some hard battles here. And by the way, there are people against us. Did you know that? There are people against us, you
For sure.
know, and and almost worse than the ones against us. There's a huge percentage of people that don't care and don't know about us, right? So we do have enemies. We do have things that we're battling against. What I would tell you though is like, keep giving, give it a lower amount, but keep giving because I think part of giving it helps produce accountability, right? Being a business guy, Stephen, I kind of think about it like we're all shareholders in the same company. And when good things happen about BCU, our stock goes up for all of us. And when bad things happen to BCU, the stock goes down for all of us.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something that breaks my heart. There are wonderful things happen at BCU every day, and then something negative happens, and people talk about it way more than all the wonderful
Absolutely.
things, and
Absolutely.
that's not okay. I had President Barry on my podcast, and I had people who were really upset, saying a lot of stuff, in my podcast tomorrow, and then I got almost no feedback on that, and that was heartbreaking to me because we need to lean in and promote the good things that are happening and support them. So,
Yes.
go ahead.
I want to address one comment because I want to make sure people know I am calling balls and strikes.
Sure.
Taji says if I submitted a question, please read the question. We are here for questions and answers. We can't continue to hide. Just I want to be clear, Taji. I'm not hiding questions. There was a question that was in the chat, not one of my questions. I have a whole thing full of questions that I have prepared for you all. So just so you know, I'm here to ask questions too. So I don't want you guys to think we're trying to dodge anything. There was a question in the chat that I was gonna take, and I decided against it in lieu of time. So I just want to be clear on that, so y'all don't think Steve is trying to cheat y'all or anything. All right. So there's some questions that oh, this is a good one. There was NDAs being signed. We heard there were NDAs being signed on campus for staff and faculty. Are you aware of that? And is that something that will continue in the future?
I've not heard anything about that. That's the first I'm hearing of that.
Okay,
I've
I've
not heard
heard
anything
it.
about that.
I've heard it from faculty members personally with my own 2 ears that that they and this might have been this. I don't know if this is recent, but this particular conversation took place maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and a very reputable faculty member on campus I was having a conversation with was beside himself because he was asked to sign an NDA. So if you don't know about that, that's something that I would hope that this current administration and board would look at and review. I personally don't think teachers and faculty should be under NDAs for any reason. I know we're a private institution, but um, that just doesn't feel right, to
Well, yeah,
so
Steve, let me
if you
say something real quick on that. Is that we need to get to a better place where we're having more open, honest, healthy conversations, and that includes confrontations, right? And any of your guests, if they had a question to answer, they could contact me. I'm very easy to find, and they can ask me
let me
anything they
jump in
want.
here and attest to that. Listen, y'all, if John will answer your questions, I've had a bunch. And I've talked to him prior to this and asked him questions, and the reason why we're having him here because I know he's going to answer questions. So if you
Right.
have a question about anything, you can talk to him and he will gladly tell you what he knows and he won't sugarcoat anything. And he can tell you as best as he can as long as it's not
Sure.
confidential information, you know.
Sure. Well,
So
what I'll do is I'll email the chair and vice chair tonight and just and tell them I got that question as a concern. We've got to get into healthier space of healthy conversations. But
mhm,
at the same time, there's unhealthy stuff. Like, look, it's great to ask questions, but when people are being confrontational and mean and personally insulting,
yep,
I've had that happen. People send some very horrible things about me and to me, and I'm like, guys, that's not helpful. So let's ask the healthy questions. And even when, listen, even when the question's mean, I really still try to listen to it and try to pull the truth out of it. And, it's like when the students were saying they felt like they weren't being heard, again, some of that it came on a little strong. That said, I increased the number of students involved in this process. And I'm doing student listening sessions because you know what? That point's a valid point. Just like when you make sure alumni are included, that's a valid point.
right.
But I noted on the NDA thing, I'll send a note about that tonight.
Please, I think that was one that I know was a pain point for some some of our
Sure.
cherished teachers and faculty and professors and all that thing. What is the most significant risk facing the university, and what strategies do we have to mitigate them?
I think the most significant risk would be the failure to get in a president that's committed to being a transformational leader. I think that is the most significant thing. We need a president that's focused on raising money. That is a super key issue. Raising money is like having oxygen. You're not going to make it long without oxygen. You don't make it long without having money. You can raise money when you're able to know the story of the university and speak to the needs and communicate well and be the head cheerleader and be the face and travel and go to different places and inspire people. We need a transformational leader that was like Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune.
Right.
She did not do things the way they were done. She was transformational. That's what we need. So I would say the to not having that would be the biggest problem. The what it would be is the thought process of let's just keep doing things with the way they've been done.
Right.
We need to transform. We need to change. We need to embrace our roots and do different and unique, which is how we got started.
We lost the feed again, but I think we're back up. Sorry,
I think
y'all.
you're good.
Um, one of the, I guess, one of the biggest concerns from there's a member here. This is not the biggest concern. This is the biggest one of the biggest concerns from this particular member. I don't know if this particular question is out of bounds, but before you answer it, I'm going to give a perspective on the answer before you answer it, and then I'll let you give your perspective.
Sure.
This particular question was, why is a Caucasian man leading the search committee at a historically black university? And then it also follows, have any other HBCUs had Caucasians leading their presidential search committees? And then that follows up with, how can a Caucasian leader fully understands BCU's culture? So let me just touch on this for a second. And I don't the person who asked that question, it it feels a little out of bounds, but also a fair question at the same time. And here's why I say it's a little out of bounds is because if you just take a step back and you look at the name of our institution, Bethune hyphen Cookman University. Well, Alfred Cookman, as many of you know, is a white individual. And his school was founded in Jacksonville, and it was only through, I think, when the school up in Jacksonville was burned down, that they merged with Bethune Cookman, with Daytona Institute. And so we've got now Bethune Cookman. And so there's we are tied to each other race aside, right? So I don't think it's fair to make a big deal that there's a white person leading our presidential committee. Listen, I'm going to say something that's a little, may give me some trouble. We had a black individual over our past presidential search, and we still don't have a president. And I'm going to just leave that there. John, you have the floor.
Thank you. I do think it's a fair question. I respect that. I'd like to say the following things. First off, my job here is to wear an apron and serve. I'm facilitating. That's what I'm doing. And so I'm trying to get all the right people in the room, and my job is to serve and take care of them. As the chaplain on trustees, what's my job as the chaplain? It's to pray for the other trustees and serve them and be there for them. I have no interest in being the vice chair. I have no interest in being the chair. I like to be in the room to serve others. That's the space I feel comfortable in. The second thing I want to say, and I think this is the heaviest weight for me, is you know, you're a Christian and I'm a Christian, and we're both followers of Christ. That means we share the same blood of Christ. When we share the same blood, that makes us what? Family. And I really believe that. We are brothers and sisters in Christ, and that needs to overweigh all things. The final thing on that I would like to say is this for, whatever it's worth. My whole life, I was a sprinter. I ran track. And track was 400 meters was my main event. I ran the 400 meters at Florida State University. I ran the family relays all 4 years. And I would often have people say to me that I was the fastest white guy they'd ever known. We had always thought that probably my mom was mixed and that my grandfather was black. And so we, did the DNA test and proved it. And I have the Nigerian sprinter gene. And then if you go to Ancestry.com, I'm part of the descendant of Virginia slaves. So if you were to look at my family members, I have multitude of family members that you would look at, and they are in my first cousins and nieces and nephews in these different spaces, and you would say they're black, and they're my family. They're my blood family. They're not adopted. They're my blood family. So I don't want to go far with that because obviously I look a certain way and I haven't felt the same discrimination that other people have felt. So I don't want to go too far with that. I also want to say that I do have a history and I have family members in that space who I love, and I'm proud of that part of my background, and I celebrate that as part of my story. So for what it's worth, I'd share that as well.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, I understand that for sure. Uh, what? And this is a question. I can answer it, but I'll let you answer it so you can give an official answer. What is Bethune Cookman's current accreditation status?
We're accredited. We're exactly where we need to be. It's good. I think that again, the last few years have been some hard stuff, but and you've highlighted this before in your show. A lot of positive things have happened too. So we're in a good state, and we have a lot of positive trajectory moving forward.
That's a good one. All right. So I'm. This is a little bit of a selfish question on my part because it has to do with marketing and by another. This wasn't my name is included in this, but this was submitted by somebody else, so I'll read this one. And then we'll probably wrap. Many alumni like Stephen Holmes and myself have taken it upon ourselves to market and communicate BCU's legacy because of the university is failing to do so. How does the board plan to invest in marketing and communications to ensure BCU controls its own messaging? What, and this is a follow up, would BCU consider hiring or contracting alumni with expertise in branding, PR, and digital marketing?
Great, brilliant question.
Thanks, you too.
So first off, we got the agreement signed. This is Thursday. We got the agreement signed with the recruiting company on Tuesday. I'm here on Thursday. That's not an accident, right? This is happening because we value what you're doing, and we need better communications, and we see what you're doing as exceptional. That's why I'm here. So there's that. Number two, you will notice Wendy that's on the committee. is a marketing communications expert. So when we were looking at committee members, we put a member on the committee who is a BCU alum who has her own marketing firm, right? And we have a trustee that's a marketing communication, Rhodes. Trustee Rhodes has a background as well. I totally agree. Today is a step in that process, and we need to make a ton more steps in that process. The answer is yes. Let me flip. It's a good question. It's a valid question. I agree with it. We need to get much better at communications and telling our story. Absolutely. So I affirm that and promote it. I love marketing. I love storytelling. I'm in on that
And
one
you know
totally.
how I feel about that. I'm not. I won't beat that one up because we'll be here till 11 o'clock. But yeah, that's great. John, it's been a pleasure to sit here and kind of go back and forth. And we had a lot of questions, but I think as we were going back and forth, a lot of them were answered just in just the general dialogue. So some of them I did not ask, but I do have them all compiled. If you don't mind, I'll send them to you. If you feel like there's
Please.
any that needs to be addressed, you can send them back to me next week, or maybe in the past, or in the future on the show. I'll go back through some of the ones that we couldn't get to tonight, or maybe we'll talk about it in one of the groups. But I thank you for joining us tonight, and yeah, I think that went okay.
Well, thank you, my friend. I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of what you're doing. I appreciate you so much allowing me to have the time. And if anybody, again, they want to ask me questions, I'm happy to do it. And I'm here to serve. That's what I'm here to do. So I appreciate the prayers, appreciate the support. Anything else you think I need to be doing to be helpful to you and the alums, I hope you let me know.
Cool deal. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, y'all, um, tell me, put it in the chat. What did you guys think about that? I felt like it was pretty good. And again, we got a bunch of questions kind of last minute today. So I went through and well, I didn't do anything. Let me tell you, Michelle went through and like pulled out all of the good questions and kind of compiled them. And again, she gave me these really cool cards so that I can keep on track. So most of the questions and a lot of the questions got answered through dialogue. So I'm hoping if you submitted a question, a specific question, that your answer was provided through this. And I hope that you guys got something out of this. We still don't have a president. We still have things that we still have to fix with the institution, but all of it starts with us kind of trying to get back on the same page, with us communicating. And a night like tonight, I don't think you all realize how big a deal this really is. And so I'm just elated that you all sat through that. I know we've been again. I've been talking this up since last week, so I was hoping you guys would show up, and you all did. Um, yeah. Next week, I'm gonna try to get a student on. Also, one of the things that I did in the form that for the people that were filling out was I asked for feedback on how to improve the show. And so one of the things that I saw was people wanted, students said they wanted to have their voice heard more. And I realized I haven't had a student on yet. And so I think we're going to try to get that going next week. I'm not sure. But that's coming down the pipeline. I want to have a discussion with them and get their perspective on how they see things at the school, because it's important that we talk to them as well. I know we're kind of laser focused on the board, but we really got to make sure we don't forget about the kids that are there right now that are having to deal with some of our mess, some of the adult stuff that we done kind of messed up. As always, up behind my head, you got the cash app. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. I need a new camera. It's a Canon M50. It's about $400 or $500. If you want to contribute to it, there you go. I'm gonna get one, whether y'all help or not. But it's good if we crowdsource this show. So I'm putting it out there. If somebody wanna be a blessing, go ahead, shoot it in Cash App, because I think that will also help some of the issues I have with the lagginess of the stream. And I just really want to have a good show for y'all, like every week. I don't want to have to stop and start. Like, I really want this to be nice for y'all, and I really want to scale this up, and I really want y'all to just be like, man, we got something that we proud of, that we built. You know what I'm saying? So do that. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. And I think we're done. I hear music. That means, yeah, we're done. I'm hungry, y'all. So I'm about to shut it down. Thank y'all again. Hit me up on Facebook in the groups and chat. Let's talk about it. I'll be around. Tag me if y'all have any comments on there, so we can just start talking. All right. Subscribe, share. The full video of this, I'll have to go back and do some editing probably tomorrow, but I'll try to put that up the next day or so. All right. Peace.